hear my voice and that everything's coming through clearly. So, just if one or two people that are in attendance could just type a little chat message for me and let me know that everything's coming clear and you can hear me and understand what I'm saying, that would be awesome. And just feel free to check in and use that chat at any point. Perfect. My name is Seppi. I am the head of marketing and sales here at Realty Ninja. And today we're going to be doing a webinar all about the SEO for real estate agents. So recently we wrote a pretty comprehensive blog post all about SEO for realtors. It was so long. I think it was just about 10,000 words, and it takes about half an hour to 40 minutes to go through. So what we're going to do today on this webinar is just kind of take you through some of the most important takeaways live and give you the opportunity to ask some questions as well as we go. So one thing I want to note is that because there's so many of us here today, I probably won't be stopping the webinar to answer questions like on the spot. But what I will do is allow you to use the chat at any point to type in your questions. And at the very end, we're going to be doing a Q&A session where I will answer all the questions that have been asked. And you can feel free to type them in as they come to you, or just wait until the very end when we get to the Q&A and ask your questions at that point. So here's a little bit of an agenda of what we're going to cover today. Essentially, what I'd love is by the end of this webinar for all of you guys to have some ideas for what you can do to increase your search engine rank. We're going to be talking about a whole lot of different things, and if you can apply all of them to your site, that's going to be fantastic. But if you can just walk away from this webinar with one or two, kind of takeaways that are going to help you specific to your brand, or that are going to help kind of improve your strategy, that's pretty awesome too. So feel free to take notes, but I will be sending you these slides at the very end. There's a link here on this agenda page at the bottom left corner where it says download the ebook. Once we end this webinar, you're going to be automatically forwarded to that page. On that page, you'll be able to submit your email and download an ebook version of the blog post basically put together into an ebook, as well as the slides for this webinar for today. And you'll also get early access to a video that Raman and I created last week, all about kind of the top 10 takeaways for SEO for realtors in 2019. So feel free to take notes as you go, or just kind of sit back and relax with your coffee and pay attention and ask your questions as you go. And you will get these slides and a couple other resources once the webinar is over. If you guys are in a big hurry, you can always feel free to just kind of open this link up in another tab and download those files right away as well. Okay, so let's get right into it. Like I said, we'll do questions at the very end, and we're going to start with long and short tail keywords at the very beginning here. So long and short tail keywords. Keywords are essentially every word that can be found on your website. Search engines are now really smart. They can actually read and scour your website pages for content, and they look for keywords that kind of repeat themselves or show up more often, than words like and, if, but, etc. But even keywords can be divided into two categories. So category number one is long-tail keywords, and category number two is short-tail keywords. So short-tail keywords are keywords that contain one or two words. For example, here we've got condos or Toronto or millennials, or even things like real estate, like that's two words and a short-tail keyword. Long-tail keywords, on the other hand, are keywords that contain three or more words. They're a little bit more specific. So instead of millennials, it might be first-time home buyers. So that's 4 words, and that's a keyword, a long-tail keyword that might show up all around your website. Other examples are like condo specialist real estate agent, for example, or downtown Toronto luxury condos. So if you were to these 4 or 5 word keywords into your site all over the place, search engines are going to recognize that this is showing up more often and start ranking you for that. Now, before you just start going and dumping some keywords into your site, you want to do a little bit of a thought practice and think about who are the people that attract to this website. So I use the analogy of fishing in the blog post and in this webinar. And so when you're going fishing, you're going to take a certain kind of bait, and the kind of bait that you're taking with you attracts a certain kind of fish. So you want to make sure you know what kind of fish you're going after, and then you take the appropriate bait with you. And so, when you're baiting people to get them to your website, you're using keywords. And you want to make sure that you're using the right keywords for your potential visitors, for your fish, quote unquote. So you really want to nail down these two questions, answers to these two questions. First, question number one, who is my target audience? And question number two, what keywords are they using on on Google and on search engines? So there's a number of tools that you can use out there. There's free tools and there's paid tools. These are all listed in the ebook that you can download at this webinar. So you can actually research some keyword tools and pick one and do some keyword research and find out what your target audience is using. But generally also you kind of have it in your gut. You have an idea of who your audience is and what kind of things they're searching for. So, knowing those things just in your mind, you can start to kind of put together a strategy of what keywords you really want to use throughout your website. Now, using long and tail keywords have their own benefits. Long and short tail keywords have their own benefits. So short tail, for instance, like realtor or real estate keywords, there's going to be really high competition. A lot of people out there are going to be using keywords like real estate, and they're going to be ranking, and it's going to be hard to kind of compete with them. There's going to be a high volume of keywords like real estate being used, and so it's going to be hard to kind of stand out. The cost, if you're advertising to certain keywords, is going to be really high for keywords like real estate or realtor. And then that in turn is going to make it so that the focus and the conversion rate are really low for those short tail keywords. So short tail keywords are good and they're very important, but if you're trying to attract kind of more specific, relevant visitors to your website, you want to focus on the long tail and focus on the more specific multiple word keywords that you can come up with, like Toronto condo real estate specialist, for example. Things that are a little bit more specific that people might be searching for in a lower volume, as you can see, and I'll kind of use my pen here to draw. So it's a lower volume for those long tail keywords, but it's a much higher conversion rate. It's also a much lower cost. So if you're doing advertising using long tail keywords, yeah, there's going to be less people searching for them, but there's also going to be a higher conversion rate because there's less people. And the cost is going to be lower because there's less people. And the focus is going to be higher because there's less people. So it's kind of a quality versus quantity approach here. Short tail is quantity, long tail is quality, and you want a little bit of both of them, but I would personally recommend focusing on the long tail and trying to get really specific with your niche. It's better to get 100 visitors to your website, 50 of which are going to become leads, than to get 5,000 visitors to your website, none of which who are going to become leads. One thing to kind of stay away from is when it comes to keywords is keyword stuffing. So you might think that, okay, I've identified best realtor in Vancouver as being my long tail keyword that I want to use. And that's fine and dandy. However, if you're writing a paragraph that kind of looks like this and you're stuffing best realtor in Vancouver into every sentence in a way that it doesn't actually make legible sense, you're actually going to be shooting yourself in the foot a little bit here. Search engines are actually going to blacklist you for this. They're going to see this as a quote unquote a black hat tactic, and so it's not going to do you any favors. Search engines can read your website at a 7th grade comprehension level, and so if you're doing this, they're going to go, what is this? We're spotting too many of the same keyword in one paragraph, and they're actually going to rank you poorly. So don't think that the answer to this is just to go and stuff a bunch of keywords into your text of your website. What you really need to do is just kind of use it sparingly throughout in ways that make sense. Essentially, the rule is right for the people, and the search engines are going to pay attention as well. Okay, let's move on. Meta tags and alt tags, and like I said, I'm going to keep these questions, and I'll answer all of them at the end. So Dean, I appreciate your question, and I do see it, and so I'm monitoring the chat. So feel free to keep typing as many questions as you want, and we will get to them at the end. I just don't want to stop the flow of the presentation, but I do see you. Okay, so meta tags and alt tags. So these are essentially, meta tags are essentially broken out into three categories: titles, descriptions, and keywords. And then alt tags are their kind of thing. So meta tags and alt tags are kind of like keywords. Alt tags are keywords for your images. They basically describe to search engines what an image is about, what is in the image. And so while search engines can read your website, and read the text and understand the content, they can't necessarily look at a photo and understand exactly what's going on in it, or who's in it, or what area that is, or whatever. So you do need to add keywords to your images, and that's called an alt tag. The meta tag, on the other hand, they help describe the title of the page, the description of the page, and associate certain keywords to specific pages of your site. So there's two ways that you can do this. One way is much more powerful than the other. There's a site-wide meta tag that you can use. And so that would be saying, okay, I've got 100 pages on my website. I don't want to go to every single page and add specific meta title, description, and keywords to every individual page. I don't have time for that. What I want to do is I want to just add one set of title, description, and keywords that speak to the entire website and kind of umbrella cover the whole website as a whole. So that's the less effective, less power method, is to add a site-wide meta title, a site-wide meta description, and site-wide meta keywords. The more powerful approach, which is going to take more work, but it's way stronger, is going to every individual page of your website and adding a meta title, adding a meta description, and adding meta keywords for each individual page. Because every page of your website is unique. They're not all the same thing. And so you definitely want to make sure that every page of your website has its own unique title, has its own unique description, and its own unique keywords. And so here's a quick look at what these different things are. The meta title here, so this is like, these are three examples here of Google results. Actually, two examples of Google results and one example down at the bottom of code. And so the meta title and the meta description actually speak to people and to search engines. The meta title is what's circled in red at the very top. That is basically the title of the page as it appears on a search engine. This is also the title of the page as it appears in your browser, in the title bar of your browser. The next was the meta description, which is here circled with a red square around it. This is the description of what can be found on that page. So it's a really brief description, and it tells visitors what they're going to find on this page. It also tells search engines what they're going to find on this page. And then there's the keywords. Now the keywords, they don't speak to visitors. The keywords are hidden from visitors and only speak to search engines. So this is also really important to tell search engines, give search engines a list of keywords of what a specific page is about. It can be short tail keywords, it can be long tail, like here, best Squamish realtor, that's a long tail keyword, or Squamish condos, that's a short tail keyword, for instance. And so it can be a combination of short tail or long tail, but this is in the code, and this is speaking directly to search engines. Now, if you're a Realty Ninja customer, which I can see that a lot of you guys are, on the page options for any individual page of your website, you have SEO options. And so these SEO options are your custom meta title, your custom meta description, and your custom meta keywords separated by commas. So you want to go and add your title, your description, and your keywords for every individual page. And we have a support doc here that's linked on this. I don't think you guys can click these links, but you guys can take a note of that link to search for editing meta tags in our support docs. And that will that'll help you kind of point out how to do this. Also, if you're a Realty Ninja customer, you can just send us like a list in an email of the pages and the title, description, and keywords that you want for each page, and our support team will go ahead and add those for you. This is an example of alternate text. So this is the keywords for the images that I was talking about earlier. On your Realty Ninja site, when you're in edit mode, a little icon shows up on your image, which is like a gear icon. And if you click that icon, you're going to get this image option box that pops open and lets you add alternate text to any photo on your website. And so search engines are looking at this photo and not having any idea of who's in it, what she does, what her profession is, what her brokerage is. They're not going to know any of that. So you want to go in and add things like your name, your job title, your brokerage, or whatever is a descriptive tool for that photo you want to add as the alternate text for that image. Not only is that going to help you on your text rankings on search, but it's also going to help your images show up on Google image search, which is also another powerful way that people find content via search engines. All right, next point, creating awesome content. So by now we know that content is the #1 way to increase your SEO rank. It's the #1 way to attract traffic to your website. It is more and more difficult as time goes on because so much content is being produced on a regular basis. But when you identify your target audience and the keywords that they're searching for, you can start to produce content for them that speaks directly to them and attract them to your website. Now, the more content you have, the better. If you've got 5 blog posts, it's better than 0. But if you've got 500 blog posts, that's amazing. It's obviously way better than 5. If you've got 1 page on your website, that kind of stinks. If you've got 20 pages, awesome. If you've got 100 pages, that's amazing. That's, increasing your potential of being discovered, having every different page, every single different blog post, every single different search. These are all things that are your target audience is potentially going to find through search engines. So the more content overall you have, whether it's pages of your website or social media posts or YouTube videos or whatever, the higher your chances of actually being discovered by your target audience online. So if you have time at all to commit to any of the things we're going to talk about today, it should absolutely be creating content, creating blog posts, creating video content, creating pages on your site, creating landing pages. All this kind of stuff is really, really going to help your SEO more than anything else that we're going to talk about today. This is a real macro optimization that I hope all of you guys are either doing already or are going to start doing after this webinar, or actually are going to enhance with the help of this little tip that I'm going to show you. So this tip is called the top 5 technique. And so I know that sometimes it's really hard to come up with like an idea for what you're going to blog about. And so you can kind of reverse engineer your blog post a little bit using this technique. So here's the step-by-step. Step 1, go to Google and type a search query into Google, something that your target audience is searching for. So in this example, I've got, I live in Yaletown in Vancouver, and I've got this search that I wrote out, which is what are some of the hidden gems in Yaletown. So, something that people who are living in Yaletown or thinking about buying in Yaletown might be searching for. So I'm going to type that into Google and I'm going to hit enter and I'm going to look at my results. So step 2 is on the search engine results page, SERP for short, open the first 5 links that show up in new tabs. Now these are non-ad links, okay? We're not looking at the people who paid to be there. We're looking at the organic results. So don't look at the first few that say ad next to them. Just look at the first 5 that are not ads, okay? In this case, we've got these 5 different links. We've got a couple Foursquare articles, a couple Daily Hive, a couple blog articles from Daily Hive, CBC, and then we've got and so you're going to open all of these and try and absorb the information that's on all of these pages. And so open them in new tabs and read these articles. So step 3 is to read the actual article and jot down some notes about what you're finding in these articles. What do you think is great about the articles? What did they cover that makes sense? What are some of these locations, for example, that they're talking about, or whatever else is relevant to the search query you entered in step 1. Just try and absorb what these blogs or these articles or links, the first 5, did really, really well. Once you've done that, you've got this list of ideas of what all these blog posts did well. So now you're going to kind of compile these ideas into an article of your own. Now, I'm not saying go and copy the information. You obviously have ideas of your own about, articles that pertain to your target audience, whether it's like home staging tips or about the community or, about events in the area or about a park or whatever it is. You kind of have your own ideas. So you're going to mix your ideas in with some of these ideas that you pulled from the top 5 blog posts, and you're going to write an article that you believe actually is better than those top 5, or that competes with those top 5 in some way. If you found those top 5 to be short, for instance, you might want to write something that's a bit more comprehensive, a little bit longer. If you found that they were missing, nice images, you want to make sure to include some really nice images. If there's anything that you can do to improve upon those posts, then do it. Then once you're happy with your blog post, you're going to, oh, where are we? There we are. You're going to publish your article. So step 5 is to publish the actual article on your real estate blog, include the images, include videos, anything else that's going to enhance the article, and in your mind, make it better than the top 5 that already existed there. Now you're just going to go out there and share it, boost it with pay-per-click ads, share it on social media and boost it on, on Facebook or whatever. Share it with all your friend office, send it to your email list, send it to your clients, send it to as many people as you can directly, and get them to read it and get them to spend time on it. So this is going to give you a boost in the beginning in terms of traffic for that blog post. So now what you've essentially done is you've created this blog post that rivals the kind of top 5 competition for that keyword search term. You shared it out there, you gave it a fighting chance to kind of climb the ranks. Now within a few weeks, keep checking that search term and see if your blog post hasn't climbed to among the top 5. Maybe it's number 1, maybe it's number 5, but the first 5 results are kind of the most important results on Google. Those are the ones that I think it's something like 80% of people are clicking the first 5 results on page 1 of Google. So if you're on, result 6 or beyond, chances are you're not going to be discovered, because search engines are so good now at giving us what we're looking for. So by following this top 5 technique, searching, for keywords your people are looking for, opening the first 5 links and tabs, absorbing their information, and writing an article that's better than those, you're going to really stand a chance to compete with those top 5. Now do this with 20 different sets of keyword search terms, and you've created 20 super awesome blog posts that rival the competition and really have a chance to show up at the top when people are searching. So this is kind of a really great way to reverse engineer the blog process. Instead of sitting there twiddling your thumbs and going, what am I going to write about today? You're actually using kind of a researched approach to write the best thing for your target audience. Okay, moving on to social media and SEO. So social media does play a role in SEO. It's a big role that it plays, actually, and it's not to have the most followers. A lot of people think that having a ton of followers is the way to get your website or your content to rank high on social media, when in fact that's really kind of not a signal that search engines like Google look at. What Google does look at, though, is backlinks and traffic. And so the more traffic you're getting to an article or to your website, the more search engines are going to rank you high for that website or those pages. The more backlinks you have to a page on your website, and backlinks we'll talk about a little bit later, but they're essentially any link that links back to your website from any other area of the internet. The more of those that you have, the better search engines are going to rank you as well. There's a direct correlation between number of backlinks and your rank on social media or on search engines. And so you want to use social media not as a tool to amass followers. I think we're actually, in general, in a trend, we're heading away from that as being something to note. Like recently, Instagram stopped showing how many likes you have on a photo. And so it just says, so-and-so and others like your photo. It doesn't actually show the public how many people like it. So we're actually going away from this, like fest where we're just trying to amass likes. And that is true on search engines and for SEO as well. So don't worry so much about amassing followers. Just worry about sharing your content online and getting traffic through it and getting that content out there so that it's linking back to your website, whether it's from your own Facebook page or if you're doing outreach and asking other people to share your content for you on their Facebook pages, and trading links with people. Whatever you're doing on social media, try and think of it as a way to either earn backlinks or traffic. And also keep in mind that overall social media just puts you in top of mind with your audience. So, if I'm on Bob Dunn's, Instagram account, and I'm having fun and I'm commenting with Bob and I'm reading his descriptions of his photos and I'm looking at his photos, and then I go away and 2 days later I'm on Google and I'm searching for listings and Bob Dunn's website shows up. I'm much more inclined to click Bob Dunn's website than I am the rest of the competition, because I just spent 15 minutes engaging with him on social media. So don't overlook social media as a really powerful tool to kind of put you top of mind within your audience, putting a little bit of effort and love into your social media presence, making it look beautiful, and being consistent and sharing content on there consistently. It's really going to help, especially if you're working in a community that's focused. If you're just focused on like the Sea to Sky Dream Team is obviously focused on the Sea to Sky corridor, so like Pemberton, Squamish, and Whistler in British Columbia. And so they're really focused on content about their, three kind of communities. And so this helps them really stand out to that community, and they're becoming a really well-known name. So if you focus your efforts on a specific niche and target your social media posts to that niche, chances are next time people see your links on search engine results, they're going to click you. So use social media to earn backlinks, use social media to earn traffic, and use social media to stay top of mind. And these are the kind of the three things that are going to help boost your SEO by using social media. Next point, website domain. So what I see a lot happening in real estate, which sends chills up my spine, is realtors often get bored of their domain and they're like, okay, you know what, I'm actually branding and I'm changing my entire domain. So please never do this. If you are rebranding and changing, you need to get a new domain, that's fine. Keep your original domain and just forward the new domain to that original domain. The reason is because your domain is your SEO scorecard. If you have had a domain for 10 years and you've been, posting content and pages and blog posts and people have linked back to you and you've got all this authority in the eyes of search engines, you've been around for a while, and you're generally, whitelisted and everything's great, takes a lot of work to get back to that point. So if you're just like, okay, I'm closing this site and starting a new site, you are starting at zero with your SEO. I can't stress this enough. Do not do this. If you've already done this, that sucks, and you kind of got to work hard to get back to the point you were at before. But there's a really simple solution to this, and that's just domain forwarding. Okay, so if you're raytodd.com and you want to be raytodd.com anymore, you want to be vancouvercondos.com, that's great. Keep raytodd.com and just buy vancouvercondos.com and forward it to raytodd.com. This is totally fine, and you can put, Vancouver Condos on your business card, and people can use that domain, and that domain can show up in search engines and everything else just like normal. But that way, you're not eliminating all the SEO points you've kind of amassed over the years of having raytodd.com. The domain itself isn't really that important to SEO ranking. Search engines aren't looking at raytodd.com and going, what is a Ray Todd? I don't know what that is, so you're not ranking. They recognize that it's really impossible to tell what a domain's all about just by looking at the domain name. So they're not doing that. So don't worry too much. Your website, could be like best.com, for example, and that would still be a fine realtor website if you're doing the proper other optimizations like producing content, using the right keywords, meta tags, etc., etc. Having said that, there are some domain best practices to use, so let's cover a few of these. Keep it short and easy to type. The shorter the better. All that's very difficult these days. I mean, so many domains are already purchased, so it's really hard to find one that's short. But if you can, buy it and hang on to it. Make it easy to remember. I love printprint.ca. This was a print shop in Vancouver called Ultra Express Printing, and their domain was printprint.ca. And it was such a memorable, such an awesome domain. And no one had really thought about just doubling the word print and using that as their website domain. So it really caught on to the point where they changed their entire business to be called printprint.ca. So that is just a really classic example of a domain kind of being so great that it kind of directs the rest of the business. So try to think about things that are really, really easy to remember when picking your domain. Make it relevant to your industry. Chad Scredding.com, for instance, that's a great domain. However, it might also be a domain for a yoga teacher. It might also be a domain for an actor or for any number of people in different professions. And so you might want to use chadsellshomes.com for chadsellshomes.com, for example, to kind of make it relevant to your industry. Sometimes also your name isn't the best. If your name is hard to pronounce, or hard to spell, and the pronunciation doesn't really look like sound like the spelling, you might want to avoid your name altogether. We live in a multicultural country, and a lot of people's names aren't just John Smith, or Jane Doe or whatever. And so it can get really complex if you're trying to write your name into your domain and give that out to people. You're going to have a lot of kind of confused people if you're just kind of speaking it out loud. So think about your name and see if it's really easy to spell and easy to say, and then it might be a great candidate for a website domain. Also use keywords that match your business, of course. Condosales.com would be awesome. Not a lot of people want to go that branded route, but it can be kind of effective. Beware of typos and misinterpretations. You really want to put your domain through the ringer and just make sure that people aren't kind of misunderstanding it for something else. Like condoman.com could also be mistaken for condomn.com. And so, you just want to make sure that there's nothing like that happening on your domain where, people could be using typos and going to the .ca and arriving at something completely different than what you intended. And so just be really careful, when picking your things, that there's no other misinterpretations. Targeting your geographical areas, the idea, North Van Realty, or your community. This is also a great trick for landing pages. So if you have a landing page where you're just kind of targeting a specific community and showing listings in that community, you might want to purchase a domain that kind of speaks to that landing page or that community, and then forward that domain just to that landing page. Also important to own multiple domain extensions. So domain extensions are the .ca, .com, .co, .realtor, .ninja. Those are domain extensions. So you want to make sure that you own at least the .com and .ca, if at all possible. Because in a lot of cases, if you're just a .ca, most people's brain just goes to .com. And so they're going to type deanwegman.com and maybe arrive at someone else's website entirely and get confused. And so you want to, if you both of those and they're both forwarded to the same site, then there can be no mistakes, for instance. Also be wary of fancy extensions. I did mention that .realtor is a new extension these days. However, it's not, I don't know that it's ideal. I don't think the world is really ready for all these fancy extensions yet. And so, if you're printing your name.realtor on your business card, a lot of people might think that that's just a typo. They might not even realize that that's your website. They might think, oh, they accidentally put a period between their name and their job title, for instance. So, while I do think it's cool, and if you own it as well as the .com and .ca, that's great. But for that to be your primary domain, I'm kind of on the fence about that. I do think fancy extensions haven't seen their full day yet. They're just kind of on the rise, but people haven't fully understood them yet. Another one is avoid numbers or hyphens. This can get complicated. Like, you've got a hyphen and a number in your domain. You're setting yourself up to be really challenging to find, for direct visitors or direct traffic. Try and keep it, again, as simple as possible, easy to remember, and including numbers and hyphens and stuff in your domain is not kind of helping you in that realm. Do your research before you buy. I mean, the use of the word realtor in certain domains, I don't know if that's even allowed. And other kind of domains, if you buy them, you don't want to get sued or get like an email from a lawyer saying that you need to change this domain and take it down. You can't own it. So you want to do your homework before you decide to invest in a domain and make sure that you can have the rights to that name. And with all that said, take all this with a grain of salt, because again, even like buy house with a 3.com. This can be a #1 realtor website if you guys are following all the other kind of guidelines, like creating awesome content and using keywords and getting backlinks and traffic and all that. So the domain is really not that important. These are just kind of best practices if you want to nitpick. But whatever your domain is, you can basically rank high for that domain as long as you're kind of following all the other rules. All right, next is bounce rate and dwell time. So Google is always kind of advancing their algorithms and their technology to make sure that they're providing the users with the best results. So Google's #1 goal is to give their searchers the best answers to their questions that they can as soon as they can. So Google doesn't want you searching at page 20 to find what you're looking for. They want to give it to you on result #1, page #1 every time. That's their #1 goal. And so they're always kind of updating their platforms and their algorithms, and their newest algorithm is called RankBrain. And that's an AI, a machine learning algorithm that's constantly evolving, constantly scoring you based on relevance. So there's a number of things that it ranks you based on, and we've covered them in the ebook that you're going to get to download in more detail. The two that I want to talk about here that are kind of most important are bounce rate and dwell time. And so bounce rate is essentially the percentage of people who leave your website after just checking out one page. So you want to combat bounce rate. You want a low bounce rate, and you want to combat it by giving people other places to go on your website. So you want them to go from one page to another. As long as they go from one page to a second page and then they leave, then there's no bounce rate, okay? If they arrive on your homepage, look at it, and then leave your site, that's a bounce. So if you can get them to a second page and a third page and a fourth page and so on, you're going to eliminate that bounce rate. And search engines, if they see that you have a high bounce rate on your site, that means that people are coming to your site, not finding what they're looking for and leaving. And so RankBrain, this is the new algorithm of Google, is going to look at that and say, okay, Margie's website has a really high bounce rate, therefore the content on that site is not relevant to users generally, so let's not rank her highly. And so you don't want that happening. You want to appease RankBrain, and so you want to reduce your bounce rate. So make sure that you're including links on your pages to send people to other pages of your website before they leave. And you're also giving them the information that they're looking for. If a web page is all about a specific community, then make sure it really is all about that community. So if people are coming there to learn about that community, they're getting the information they're looking for, and they're spending time and they're clicking links, and they're not actually disappearing right away, which leads me to the next one, which is dwell time. Dwell time is the amount of time a person spends on a page, or dwells, quote unquote, dwells on your page, on your content. And so if someone clicks on a search result on Google and comes to one of your web pages, and they're reading real estate information and they leave within 5 seconds, that's not a very good dwell time. That's telling search engines that people did not find what they were looking for on this site. They're not reading, they're not staying long enough to indicate that they're actually engaged with the content of that page. And so if you've got a low dwell time on your pages, that's also not going to tell Google's RankBrain very many good things about you. So you want to make sure that your content is engaging enough and relevant enough to the people that are clicking to it and finding it, that they actually spend a bit of time there. And so a good kind of rule to try and follow is that 3 minutes and 10 seconds is the average dwell time for a top 10 Google result. So if you can get people staying on your site for longer than that, great, then you're in the top 10 for sure. If you're not getting people staying on your pages for at least 3 minutes and 10 seconds, then there's something wrong, and you kind of need to tweak those pages to try and keep them around a little bit longer. If they can consume all of the content on that page within 30 seconds, then maybe try and beef it up a little bit, add a little bit more information. Same goes for blog posts, for instance. So definitely try and appease, RankBrain by including links throughout your web pages to send people to other pages, and also including relevant and great content on the page to keep people around for longer. All right, next one is backlinks and interlinks. So we talked about backlinks when we were talking about social media a little bit earlier, but let's dive into it a little bit further. So a backlink is essentially when any other website on the internet links back to your website. So this could be from your brokerage website, it could be from social media, it could be from a blog post on some reputable blog, it can be from the mortgage broker you work with's website. All of these are backlinks. As long as they're linking to your site, that counts as a backlink. Now, an interlink is different. An interlink is links from your site to your site. So interlinks are when you have a link on your homepage that links to your contact page. Your entire menu bar of your website, the whole navigation menu, that's all interlinks, okay? If you've got a blog post that's linking to another blog post, that's an interlink. And so this essentially either sends you to another area of your website or another area of that same page, like lower down or something like that. So what backlinks do is they build your authority in the eyes of search engines. So basically telling search engines that this is a popular and reputable website. Lots of sites link to it, therefore it must be popular, it must be well known, and it must not be some random fly-by-night operation. Another important kind of factor is the stronger the backlink, the more it's going to impact your rank. So if a backlink's coming from a website that gets 1 million visitors a month, that's a really strong backlink. If a backlink's coming from a site that gets 20 visitors a month, that's a relatively weak backlink. They're both important and they're both going to be good for you, not that one's going to be bad for you. They're both positives, but the backlink from the more reputable, more popular website is going to be way better for your authority overall. Interlinks, on the other hand, they keep visitors on your site for longer. So we just talked about dwell time, and interlinks do that. So they get you, and they reduce your bounce rate as well. They get visitors from one page to another. They get visitors kind of reading your site for longer and longer. And so you definitely want to include interlinks all over your website as well. And beware, like we talked about stuffing keywords. And then, in that example with the best realtor in Vancouver, highlighted in red a little bit ago, another kind of thing to be aware of is stuffing interlinks. So if your web page includes, like if you're, let's say your homepage, for instance, if it has 200 links on it, Google's going to start to get suspicious of you, and they're going to rank you negatively because they're going, okay, there's something fishy going on here. They're linking every word or every other word and trying to kind of fool our algorithms and fool our system. So if you're ever trying to fool Google, they're going to know. They're smarter than we think they are. They've got engineers over there that have been working for years on finding these loopholes and finding these tricks and kind of fighting against them. So beware, do not stuff interlinks all over your website. Here's a couple tips on how to get some backlinks. Number one, producing awesome content. As you can see, it has multiple benefits. And one of those benefits is that people are going to link to it. People are going to find that article and go, this is awesome, I need to link to this article, and they're going to share it. That happens all the time on social media and on other people's blogs. And so if you're producing really great content, you're going to get linked back to it. Sharing on social media, that's a backlink, whether you're sharing it or you're getting a friend to share it or people in general are sharing it. Writing guest blog posts, so reaching out to publications in your community and saying, hey, I'd love to write a blog post for you guys and have it published on your site. What do you think? Or even just writing in advance and sending it to them and saying, I wrote this for you guys. This will get a link back to your website, like in the about the author section of that blog. Or you can even include links in the body of that blog post back to your website. You can ask your referral network. So if you got people that you work with, like closing gifts and plumbers and inspectors and mortgage brokers and all that kind of stuff, get a link on their website to your website, and get a link to their website on your website as well. Update your directory. So if you've got, you're on your brokerage website, you've got a directory listing that mentions who you are. You can include your website there. If you've got a Yelp, or an any of these referral sites. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the popular one that comes to mind first, but there's lots of referral sites that are out there that are kind of like mini social networks. You want to make sure you're out there on those. On review sites, you want to make sure your links back to your website are on those. So what you want to do is actually go and Google your name and open up all the different places where you show up in different tabs and make sure that there's a link to your website there. So you're basically updating every directory that contains you to link back to your site. Another one is becoming a source for reporters. So there's a site that I use called sourcebottle.com. I'm just going to type that out here for you. And so if you go to sourcebottle.com, you can register to become a source. And you're going to get emails every so often, every couple of days that say, hey, are you an expert in this certain thing? We're looking for a quote. So reporters are always out there looking for quotes from experts. And so you can kind of check real estate as your area of expertise, and you're going to get all these kind of questions about real estate. You can answer those questions, and then those people who publish your quotes are going to end up linking back to your website as well. So that's a good one. And then if you have any other websites on the internet, link back to your main website from that website. And also like link between them, right? So link one website to the other and the other website to that one. Thanks for your questions, guys. I see your questions. Keep them coming, and we'll get to them pretty soon. So here's a little chart to show you the direct correlation between high number of backlinks and high Google positions. So like over here, we've got 35,000 backlinks, and that's like a position number 1. Okay, and then kind of climbing down, like a position number 2, we've got just over 10,000 backlinks for position number 2. We've got just over 5,000 for position number 3, and then it starts to kind of slowly go down from there, and so on and so forth. And so it really does matter how many backlinks you have in terms of ranking. Obviously, there's other factors that come into play, things that we've been talking about today during the webinar, but backlinks are very, very important, especially backlinks coming from reputable places. In the ebook that you guys are going to get to download, there's a little link there that will let you quickly plug in your domain name and see all of the backlinks that are pointing to you. So wait to get your hands on that. Interlinks. So we talked about what interlinks are, and here's just like some quick tips on creating interlinks. Linking one blog post to another. So this is a really popular one when you're writing a blog post. If it kind of alludes to something you've written before, like that text, and link it to that blog post. 2, write a multi-part blog post. So you can always write, part 1 on Monday, part 2 the following Monday, part 3 the following Monday, and it's this kind of 3-week ongoing article, and they link between each other, and you can link back and forth between the first one, the second one, the third one. Number 3, create important call to actions on your homepage. That's super important because you're basically telling your target audience, these are the important things that you need to be doing on my website. So click here, and click here. That's going to take them to different areas of your website. Therefore, it's an interlink. Number 4, link one MLS search to others. So if you've got, a Yaletown condos MLS search, maybe you want to also have that link to a Cole Harbor condos MLS search or a Gastown condos MLS search. And so basically leading people to view different MLS search pages, not just get there and go, okay, now what? Or just get them to look at listings and then leave. You're actually guiding them to other searches as well. Creating multi-part buyer and sellers guides, kind of like the blog post idea, but this would be like a guide where you go to page 2 and then page 3 and then page 4 and kind of keep clicking through to the next section of that guide. Add view other listings link to your active listings. So, if people go to your featured listings and there's 2 of them, maybe at the very top of that page, you want to say view other listings in Vancouver, for example. That link would take them to just a Vancouver MLS search page. Or, if they get to that featured listings page and you have no active listings, then it would be great for them to not just see there are no listings at this time, but to also see a link to take them elsewhere so they kind of keep flowing through your site. Link to your blog from everywhere. So sometimes you're going to write a blog post that is relevant to something you're saying on the homepage. So highlight that text on the homepage and link it to that blog post. Your blog content is not just like magazine articles. They are actually useful pages of your website. So make sure you're using them by linking to them from all over the place, not just if I have to click your blog to view your blog posts, but I want to be able to access your blog from all over your website. And also include call to actions on every page. You have a number of things that you want people to do. You want them to call you. You want them to fill out your form. You want them to enter your contest. You want them to your mailing lists. XYZ, so many different things you want people to do. So make sure there's at least one call to action on every single page of your website, whether that's to click something or to submit an email or to pick up the phone or whatever. Picking up the phone it would be better if you included a link to a phone number so they can actually click it. So that'll actually help your SEO well. Just a quick look at a homepage just to see all the areas where there's some interlinks. So there, the Adam Wilson here, linking your logo or your name at the top corner to your homepage, that's an interlink. This whole menu bar is an interlink. The drop-down menu is an interlink. The search button is an interlink. This one and this one, these are call to action or interlinks. So really important to have these things all over your site and not go crazy with them and overstuff it to kind of trick Google, but include, links all over that kind of keep people flowing through your site. Really important. All right, let's move on to different media types. So keep in mind, Google isn't just text search. Google has a number of different tabs, like video tabs, news tabs, image tabs, maps tabs, and you want to make sure that your content's showing up in as many, if not all of those places. And so do a little search on those different tabs, like how we did in the content section when we were talking about that top 5 technique, where you search for a specific key term and look at the top 5 articles and then write a blog post that's better than those. You can kind of use that similar approach in all these different tabs. So, if you're on like the news tab, you can search for something and view all the blog posts. If you're on the videos tab, you can search for something and view the top videos that show up in that category. It's really important to create a Google My Business profile, which I'm going to show you in just a minute here. But that's important for collecting reviews because that also really helps your search engine ranking. Google obviously owns Google My Business and they want reviews, and so they want people engaging with that platform. So the more reviews you're showing, that's really going to actually positively impact your rank as well. And I'm going to show you how that looks on the maps page in just a second. Here's the news page, for instance. Like we've got a search term here, Vancouver Realtor, and you get to see all the kind of articles showing up. And these are articles, these are not pages, these are just like blog posts or magazine articles or newspaper articles. The maps tab is the next one. And so when a lot of people use the maps tab and use the Google map on their phone as well, and they're looking, for realtor, and they're just looking to see where the realtors are all around them. And so what's happening is you're getting plotted on the map, and you're also getting plotted along this left side here on this bar on the left with your image and your ranking and your, a couple other details like your address and the office hours and stuff. And what you'll notice here is that these two are ads, okay? So the ads are paid for sure. But after that, we've got 63 reviews, we've got 42 reviews, we've got 87 reviews, we've got 73 reviews, and then we've got 19 reviews. So the least on, like the lowest number of reviews on this kind of first page is 19. So these reviews matter. It's showing the highest rated people at the very top. These are all 5-star people, except for Mike Stewart, who just happens to have a lot of reviews, and so he's kind of trumping them. But that's kind of a really important view that a lot of realtors overlook is this maps view. It's how you get plotted as like an actual location point on the map. You need to have a Google My Business profile, and so that's linked in the ebook as well, but it's just called Google My Business. So if you don't have this and you're not able to collect reviews yet, you need to go and create that ASAP and start kind of reaching out to your former clients and asking to review you and all your current clients moving forward. A quick look at the images tab. So adding alt tags to your images is really important to kind of show up in this images tab as well. Another great way for people to find you. And then the videos tab. And so when I searched videos, I was a little bit shocked to find out that most of these videos when I searched Vancouver Realtor are from 2015. And this one's from 2012, like they're pretty old. And so it's there's an opportunity there to kind of stand out amongst these guys. So take a look at these videos. If you're in Calgary, search Calgary Realtor and see what videos show up and see what's in the videos and create a video that's better than these ones, and use keywords like Vancouver Realtor or Calgary Realtor or Toronto Realtor or whatever, so you stand out in this category. The all tab is not the only place where people are doing Google searches. They're scouring all these different tabs, and so make sure you're kind of optimized to show up in different areas. All right, and our last slide is technical optimizations. And so, all the stuff we talked about is marketing your website and kind of optimizing your website online. These are some things that have to do with the tech of your website, the quote unquote under the hood of your real estate website that search engines look at. And so as a Realty Ninja customer, it's kind of our job, okay? If you had a custom website, it would kind of be your job to stay on top of all this and kind of make sure your web designer is, meeting all these requirements and more. But from our standpoint, that's our job. We kind of got to keep the software up to date. We kind of got to keep the software performing really highly when it comes to search engine best practices, and we got to stay on top of things like rank brain and new algorithms and stuff, constantly changing, constantly evolving, so that we can give you guys the best tool to kind of start with. So some of the things that are important are, like I see Dean, you asked about sitemaps. Yeah, sitemaps are absolutely still important. Having your pages load quick is still very important. Having a clean URL structure so that there's no like weird .php or .html and all that kind of stuff in your URL. You want it to just be clean, like yourwebsite.com/word/word/word. That's a clean URL structure, so that's really important. Having SSL security. You want to make sure your website is HTTPS:// not HTTP://. Browsers are giving warnings now to visitors who are going to websites and they're just HTTP and not HTTPS. So having that SSL security is really, really important as well. While responsiveness, when you grab the corner of your browser and shrink your browser down, you need your website to respond to the size of the browser that it's in. So you don't want it to be a dedicated mobile site. That's kind of old school now. You also don't want it to just like stay put and get hidden when you shrink your browser past a certain size. That's super old school. That's 90s stuff. So Realty Ninja sites come with all this stuff built in and more, like robots.txt and schema and all this kind of technical stuff that's supposed to be under the hood is there with us. If you're not a Realty Ninja customer, you want to make sure that you have some of these things, and we cover a bunch more of them in the actual ebook that you guys are going to get. So you want to go through and kind of audit your site and make sure that you have all of those things because it is important. Yeah, sitemaps do help. For instance, they help search engines crawl your website faster. And then there's also things that we do for you guys if you're a Realty Ninja customer, like we submit your website to Google for indexing right away so that it doesn't take 2 or 3 weeks for them to just crawl your website automatically. We just give it to them and we're like, here, crawl this today. So right when you're live, you're starting to collect SEO points right from that moment. So a lot of little technical things to kind of help you out, really important, and kind of audit your website and make sure that you have all these things. And feel free to ask us, if you're a Realty Ninja customer, you can ask us what's going on with any of them and we'll give you the scoop. All right, with that said, let's kind of go over a quick cover of what we talked about today. Keywords, long tail, short tail, meta tags, titles, descriptions, keywords, and alt tags. Content, we talked about the top 5 technique, ways to kind of reverse engineer your content creation practice. Social media, it's not about followers, it's about backlinks, traffic, and staying on top of mind. Domain best practices. Most important thing about domains, do not start a new domain, just forward other domains to your current domain. We talked about bounce rate and dwell time, people leaving your site after looking at just one page, people not spending very much time on the pages of your website. Backlinks, interlinks, really important to kind of keep people on your site and have people kind of link back to your website as well to build your domain authority. Checked out the Google tabs, news, images, videos, and maps. Really important to get a Google My Business profile going and starting to collect reviews. And then this technical under the hood stuff that we just talked about. So what's next is to kind of keep your learning going. Download our ebook at get.realtyninja.com. slash SEO dash ebook. And that also includes a video that we just filmed for you, and what else? The slides for this presentation as well. So once you submit your email, you'll get all three of those things in a bundle. And so now I'm going to turn my head to your questions. And I love your guys' questions. Thank you so much for asking them. Let's start at the top. Dean, and guys, feel free to type more questions right now. If there's anything else, just kind of load the chat with questions, and I'm going to get through them. And once I do get through them, I'm going to end the event. When I end the event, you guys will automatically forwarded to this Get Ebook page. So you can either go there now, or you can just wait. You know, if you guys want to take off, feel free to take off, go to that link yourselves, or you can just wait and listen to the answers to the questions, and then you'll get automatic forwarded there. Okay, so let's go ahead with Dean's first question. Is there an ideal ratio of keywords in a blog post? I'd say don't think about it so systematically. There is no, like, Google's never come out and said this is the ideal ratio. So, you know, I'm sure you can do some testing, but I would say don't worry too much about it. I'd say as long as it's showing up twice, you know, or 3 times in each blog post, that's good enough. Even if it shows up once and then it also exists on other pages of your website, like that keyword, like let's say you're using the keyword Toronto condos. If Toronto condos exists in 7 or 8 places around your website, and then in one place in a specific blog post, that's good enough too. If you're including the same keyword 30 times in a blog post, it might be a little bit overkill and might be doing you more harm than good. So I would try and keep it at like 8, right? So if I were to give you a ratio, I'd say something like 1 to 3%, if I were to kind of just make that up on the spot. But I wouldn't think of it so scientifically. Instead, I would read your blog post and feel it out. Are you saying it too much? Have you said it enough? If not, if it fits somewhere, add it in. If you haven't said it at all, you definitely want to fit it in somewhere. But if you've said it just once and you feel like it could fit in a couple other places and be spaced out enough, then go for it, definitely. When I'm writing blog posts, I try and include the words real estate website in my blog posts at least one time. I'm not writing real estate website 30 times, but it might show up in as much as 5 times if it's a long blog post rather. Okay, moving on to Bob's question. Does having landing just reduce dwell time? No, it depends, right? So dwell time is just the amount of time people are spending on your site. So if your landing page, it can keep someone's attention for a few minutes, then great. Then it's doing awesome. So even something as simple as having a video, like a 2-minute video on your landing page, that's already them arriving there, hitting play, watching a 2-minute video. So that's already about 2 minutes and 30 seconds of time. Then they're going to kind of look at a couple other pieces of content. So they've already hit 3 minutes really quickly. So it doesn't have to reduce dwell time. If your landing page has 1 line of text on it and a form, and people get there, read it, fill out the form, and leave, yeah, that will reduce your dwell time. But typically, that's not what landing pages are. So I would say, even when you're producing landing pages, think about things like dwell time. Think about things like bounce rate. If they can just kind of get there and accomplish what they need to accomplish and leave, fantastic. At least there's a conversion happening, which is going to turn them into a lead for you, hopefully. So if they leave, that's okay. But if they get there and they accomplish their thing and there's another link for them to click and go to another page, all the better, right? Keep them staying around. So try and kind of throw all the little tactics at them to keep them around for as long as you can on the different pages of your site. But landing pages overall, their objective is to convert traffic into a lead. So they have their own kind of purpose. If you can make them stand out for dwell time and make them combat bounce rate, fantastic. But I would focus more on making them into lead conversion tools than anything else. A high bounce rate, I would say, is like, a high bounce rate, I'd say, is 50% or more. So if half of your traffic is coming to your site and leaving, that's a high bounce rate. And so this is Gary or Jerry's question. What's a high bounce rate? So don't be alarmed if some of your pages have 30% bounce rate. 30% of people are just going to show up and leave, and that's okay. 40% is starting to get a little concerning. 50% I'd say is a high bounce rate. If you're over 50%, you might want to think about what you can do to kind of keep people from leaving after they get there, and kind of get a few friends to look at your page, or send your page to us and be like, hey, this page has a high bounce rate. Why? Why do you think? And let us take a look at it and give you kind of some feedback and suggestions. We're always here to help. But I'd say if you're hitting over, and also keep in mind, some blog posts, people will just get there to read the blog post and then leave. So if a blog post has a high bounce rate, that's not the worst thing. It's worse if people get to your homepage. That's kind of a more important place. If people arrive on your homepage and then leave right after visiting just your homepage and not going any other page, that's going to kind of signal Google in other ways, in more kind of serious ways about your bounce rate. Versus if they get to a blog post and they 7 minutes on that page and then leave, that's okay because their dwell time was really high on that page. And sometimes a blog post doesn't, really result in reading another blog post, and so search engines know that as well. But even then, having said that, include links to other blog posts in one blog post. And so when someone's done reading your blog post, they open another one from that link and read the next. Sitemaps, yes, they're still important. We talked about that. Definitely tell search engines how to crawl your website, kind of the flow of your website. So it's always great to have a sitemap. And if you're a Realty Ninja customer, you get an auto-generated, beautiful sitemap for search engines. Thank you, Dean. Catherine, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Malad. Okay, yeah. The update on VOW is that it's still in progress. Some of our competitors have released kind of a quick solution where they've created one website that just shows sold listings. And so what we're doing is a lot more comprehensive. We're providing a tool where any visitor of any of our customers' websites can actually access VOW. So it's in development and it's in testing right now. I actually think development's complete and it's in testing. So implementing that into the software and adding it to every customer site is going to take a little bit of time. But so I don't have a specific date, but if you email support@realtyninja.com, they might have a better kind of response for you, and they might have more tips on, more ideas about the actual date that's coming. Thanks, Malad. See, Carol. Hope it was good for you. Dean, please also confirm if using individual page meta tag title, etc., conflicts with using the site-wide meta title description. I'm 99% sure that if you have a site-wide and you have a page, individual page meta tag title and keyword, that the individual page one will override the site-wide. So it doesn't hurt to have a site-wide one and then go and add individual page ones, because the page ones will override the main one for the site. And then the pages that don't have a meta tag, keyword, or description will just revert using the site-wide one. Margie, how do you link one MLS search to another? So I'm just talking about adding like a text area that says, click here to view homes in Vancouver, click here to view condos in Vancouver. So you would just write that text, highlight it, and link it. Link it to that page that you want it to link to. So it's not actually a function of the MLS search widget. It's just adding another text box and typing that text in and highlighting and linking the text, or even adding like an image, like a button, and linking that button to the other MLS search. So it's just kind of a relatively simple process. And if you have, if you need help doing that, if you're a Realty Ninja customer, you just email us and we'll take care of that for you. Let us know what page you want connected to what page, and we'll do that. Awesome. How do people review a site? Jerry, if you can be a little bit more specific, I'm not 100% sure what you mean about review a site. And if you can be a little bit more specific, I will answer that in a second. Margie, awesome. Thank you so much. Marinaz. So you check your bounce rate by using Google Analytics. So I think if you go to google.com/analytics, you can sign up for a free analytics account. And then we can integrate that into your Realty Ninja site, and so you can start tracking your traffic, and you can find out how long people are spending on your pages, what pages are more popular, what blog posts are popular, et cetera, et cetera. And so You definitely want Google Analytics if you don't have it already. If you do have it, you can just log into your analytics account and track at any point, even live. I think they now have live analytics where you can see who's on your site, how much time they've been there for, what page they're looking at, and etc. And so it tracks it all historically and gives you really good data, and it's all free. The link to the ebook says fill out a form, but there's no form on that page. There should be a form. That's the second thing down underneath the blue header. I'm seeing that form right now. If anybody else is having trouble accessing that link that Andrew is telling me about, please let me know. Andrew, if you're still having trouble, I'll follow up with you via email, and we can kind of get that stuff to you in any case in another method. Might just not be showing up for you. You might have like a form blocker or something showing in your browser. I'm not sure. Okay, thanks, Dean. Have an awesome day. Thank you for the questions. Yeah, Jerry, we're talking about Google Business Reviews, so thanks, Melissa, for clearing that up. Google My Business. You definitely want to get a Google My Business account. I'm going to see if I'm just pulling up the link for you here. Yeah, so that link should open you up to the Google My Business page. It's got a whole bunch of tracking code there, but it's just google.com/business. Jerry, and you can just create an account there, and that will be your Google Business account where you can plot your address and location on the map so people can find you on the map, and then you can ask people to review you there. So it's not actually reviewing the website, but it is connected to the website because your business profile will also have your website there. So that's helping you. It's all kind of connected, right? So it's telling Google that this is my business, this is my website, these are the reviews for my business, for my website, for me. Great, Marinaz. Yeah, we definitely will for sure. This was just a little bit of a test, and I think we're going to do this a lot more. My pleasure, Jerry. Melissa, if I ask all of my customers to do business reviews, is it better for search ranking if I have reviews spread out over time versus a bunch of reviews coming in at the same time? I don't actually think it matters. I've never heard anything about that being an issue. You might want to do it in batches just to play it safe. Ask 3 at a time or something like that. But I'm pretty sure that if 50 people review it today, then tomorrow that's going to give you a big boost. So there's never been any indication that getting a bunch of reviews at once is a problem because they're all coming from different individual accounts. So it's not like it's fraudulent or anything. It means you went and did a little bit of a review request. And so there's nothing wrong with requesting reviews from your customers. Google's not going to negatively rank you for that or anything of that nature. So yeah, I would say go for it. If you really want to err on the side of caution, then just wait. Wait a week between every 5 or something like that. Marinaz, you can't control who leaves reviews. No, anybody can come and review you once you have that Google review. And so basically you're opening yourself up to the world and saying, I'm doing business with people and they're going to be able to leave me reviews. And you can go and request it from your favorite, or your best kind of customers, and just don't let your bad customers, not that you have any, of course, but don't let those scenarios kind of know about your Google reviews if you'd rather just keep it completely positive. But no, once you say you're accepting reviews, you're accepting reviews, and people can go and review you. So I'm sure we've got a restaurant or two that has like 2 stars out of 5, and you're like, oh damn, I'm not eating there. And so that's just the cost of doing business these days. If you want the benefits of it, and assuming you guys are all awesome realtors, the fact that you guys are here and listening to this webinar tells me a great deal about how you do business. And so, I'm not worried for you. Just being up there and asking your customers to come review you is going to result in all 5-star ratings, I'm sure. Bob, the SEO ebook does not include a link, but that's only because this is currently being recorded right now. So when this webinar is over, I'm going to upload the recording of it to YouTube, and then I will email it to you guys all, everybody who attended this webinar, and even the people who couldn't make it that were registered for the webinar will get emailed the recording of this webinar, so you can go through it as many times as you need. Melissa, on the Google My Business map, you can click to see the street view. The image on the street view is across the street. How do I get that corrected to show the front of my business? I believe that you can actually drag and drop the pin. You'd have to go log into your My Business account and either you can drop the pin or you can actually play with the what do you call them? The coordinates of the map. And so there is a way to do that. And sometimes like Google Maps is just a bit off. And so just putting the address doesn't really work. So sometimes you just kind of have to deal with that. And you just be like, it is what it is. And then you can upload photos because you want your address to show up correctly is basically what I'm trying to say. So if you put in the correct address, sometimes the Google Street View doesn't show the correct address, which is just Google's fault. And then you'd have to like change your address to the wrong address to get it to show it properly. Or if you move the coordinates or something, it might mess with your address. So what you want to do is, if that's the case, if it's not lining to Google, you can either reach out to them, just to their support and be like, this is my problem, this is my address, and this is what it's showing, and hopefully they'll help you out. But another, like just a workaround would be to upload photos of your business front. And so there's like an actual area where you can upload photos to your Google profile. I recently did that and uploaded some photos of like Realty Ninja websites to the Realty Ninja profile. So you can upload a photo to kind of, I don't know if it overrides the street view, but it might, but just a little bit of play around back there should fix that. And if all else fails, definitely reach out to their support because they do have really good support, believe it or not. Okay, we're at 12:14. In 1 minute, it's going to be 12:15. If there's any more questions, drop them in now. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. I've already kept you guys for an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm so grateful that you guys are all here. I really, really appreciate that. We will be doing this again. I think like every 6 months or so is a great time to kind of cover some SEO stuff. So kind of look forward to that, and yeah. I will definitely send the link to all of you guys. Awesome. Thanks, Harry. Thanks, Roya. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, everybody who is here. I'm going to go ahead and end the event, and you guys will be able to download the ebook, the webinar slides, and the video right away. Thanks, and have an awesome day, my ninjas.